from RTV6, Indianapolis This Week.
Welcome to Indianapolis This Week. I'm Rafael Sanchez. We begin remembering two police officers who died last week, both dedicated to serving and protecting their communities. IMPD Deputy Chief Jim Waters passed away Thursday after being involved in a crash just last Sunday. Southport Lieutenant Aaron Allen was shot and killed on Thursday. First Lieutenant Allen, he was responding to a call to help when he was attacked. There's the scene. It happened near Madison Avenue and Maynard Drive, which was the site of that serious crash. In 2015, Allen was named Officer of the Year. That year, he saved a man dying from an overdose at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. Lieutenant Allen also served as an officer at Franklin Township Schools. After his death, an outpouring of support from fellow officers and the community.
They're very tight-knit, you know, I mean, they take care of each other. My heart is breaking for them, yeah. It's a sad, sad thing for this to happen.
Southport Police Chief Thomas Vaughn calling Lieutenant Allen a hard worker, responding to a crash to save lives when his was taken. More tragedy for local police. IMPD mourning the loss of a committed public servant. We learned Thursday afternoon that Deputy Chief Jim Waters died from injuries he suffered in a crash last weekend. A semi hit the back of his unmarked cruiser on Interstate 70 last Sunday afternoon. A procession left Methodist Hospital on Thursday. Waters served IMPD for nearly 30 years. Mayor Joe Hogsett ordered all Marion County flags to be flown at half-staff in his honor. Public safety, healthcare, jobs, tax reform, all issues that will dominate the 2018 race for U.S. Senate right here in Indiana. This week, a prominent Hoosier Republican, Congressman Luke Messer, announced that he would challenge the Democratic incumbent, Joe Donnelly. We sat down with Messer's campaign representative, Greg Pence. Joining us now is Greg Pence. He's with the Luke Messer for U.S. for Senate campaign. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Raphael.
Why is Luke Messer the best person to represent, to get the Republican nomination for the U.S. Senate seat?
Well, Luke's been my congressman for 4.5 years now. He's a conservative, principled leader in Congress. He's focused on jobs, education, economic development, and I really think his Hoosier conservative values are the person we need to take on a very liberal Democrat incumbent.
Will Mr. Messer need the president's support on this? And I ask that because earlier this week, Rex Early and Tony Samuels, who are with the Trump for Indiana campaign in 2016, put out this very detailed note saying that they were not endorsing anyone, but within that note there was a lot of talk about Todd Rokita. There was no talk of Luke Messer. So will you need the president's support to campaign over the next couple of months?
Well, I know Mr. Early and Tony. I think the world of them. I'm a former Marine, just like Rex is. Rex and Tony are no longer affiliated with the Trump campaign, number one. Number two, as you just said, they didn't endorse him. And I really think folks ought to check with the Trump campaign in the Trump Tower to see if they have or would be endorsing anybody. That hasn't happened yet. You know, it's interesting that the current Democratic incumbent labeled this week as Luke Messer as the Pied Piper of the President Trump, and you know, I think the Democrats actually see Luke as much more aligned with Trump, as I do.
And let's just say that you know someone in the vice presidential office. There's a guy by the name of Mike Pence. Will Mr. Pence, the former governor, not the vice president, do you think he will campaign for Mr. Messer? Since you know Mike, right?
Since I know him, yeah, since I'm related to him.
Yeah.
You know what? Right now it's really about announcing Luke's candidacy, the August 12th rollout. My brother's not going to be in a position right now to endorse anybody. We'll see what the future brings.
We'll see if Air Force 2 flies into Indiana for a campaign stop again.
Okay.
Mr. Pence, I thank you for your time.
Best of luck to you.
We appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you.
More politics this week brought a huge setback for Republicans, the battle to repeal the Affordable Care Act. On early Friday morning hours, the Senate voted against what was called a skinny repeal bill. Senator John McCain cast a dramatic deciding vote against the bill, joining 2 other Republicans and all of the Senate's Democrats. President Trump tweeted shortly after that vote that 3 Republicans and 48 Democrats let the American people down on health care. Now, moving forward, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he's putting the bill on hold. Senator John McCain cast his no vote despite the intense last-minute lobbying from Vice President Mike Pence. The former Indiana governor stood with McCain, talking to him on the Senate floor for more than 20 minutes. The Washington Post reports that Pence even delayed taking a call from what was believed to be from the White House. This as he tried to persuade McCain into voting for that slimmed-down health care bill. The vice president continued his lobbying even in the Republican cloakroom. Despite all of that, McCain broke with his party on this key vote. So the Affordable Care Act is still the law. That means for now, no changes to the exchange and no changes to Indiana's HIP 2.0 insurance program. This week, Governor Eric Holcomb talked about what happens next on health care, as some are worried about the future federal funding for HIP 2.0 and other Hoosiers receiving Medicaid coverage. The governor was asked whether he would be willing to consider a state tax increase if that federal funding dries up.
I'm willing to entertain all sorts of decisions that will be difficult to make, that will make sure that we're able to continue taking care of Hoosiers in need. I want to be part of the solution, and I shared that with my colleagues in Aspen earlier this week. If anything has changed, it's my growing impatience that we're not getting to a resolution.
And we are now learning that the next Hoosier who could become part of President Trump's administration will face his confirmation hearing this week. Dr. Jerome Adams is the president's nominee to be the next U.S. Surgeon General. Adams is now set to answer questions from a Senate panel on Tuesday. He will be introduced at his hearing by Republican Senator Todd Young. Adams has served as director of Indiana's State Department of Health since 2014. Now to a controversial reaction to a switch in military policy from the White House. We first reported on Wednesday, transgender individuals, per the president, will not be allowed to serve in the military. President Trump points to tremendous medical costs and what he calls disruption for that decision. An Indiana veteran who identifies as a transgender is calling the president's decision, in her words, frightening. Kimberly Akoff served for 6 years in the Indiana National Guard. She left her position as a sergeant back in 2006. She says her military experience opened new doors, but now she's worried about other transgender individuals who are currently enlisted.
If you're currently serving, I can imagine that soldier being fearful, being made to feel like they're not a part of this wonderful country, this wonderful military might.
The American Family Association, which has a chapter in Indiana, supports the president's decision. The head of the Christian not-for-profit organization released a statement applauding the president for his decision to, in their words, end the usage of our military for social engineering and political correctness. And that brings us to this week's I Say, You Say commentary and a reaction to the president's order on transgender service members from Megan Robertson. She's a longtime Republican political strategist and also a longtime leader in the campaign for LGBT rights in our state.
President Trump has banned transgendered individuals from serving in the military in any capacity, saying we, quote, cannot be burdened with the tremendous medical cost and disruption that transgender in the military would entail. My take, 1 in 5 members of the trans community has served or are serving in the military. These individuals are patriots who want to serve their country and put themselves in harm's way to protect our freedoms. We should not only allow them to serve, but thank them for being willing to. The president said he came to this decision after speaking with generals and military experts. It appears he did not talk to Republican Senator John McCain, a former POW who said that any able-bodied American should be allowed to serve. And he didn't talk to retired U.S. Navy SEAL Kristen Beck, who served in the Navy for 20 years, received a Purple Heart, and retired from SEAL Team 6. And he didn't read the study that was commissioned by the Pentagon, showing 18 countries allowed trans individuals to serve openly, including our allies in Australia, Canada, Germany, Israel, and the United Kingdom. None of those countries reported a negative impact on the operational effectiveness, readiness, or the cohesion of the force. The bottom line is that similar concerns were raised in debates over whether to allow gays and lesbians to serve openly, women to serve in ground combat positions, or African Americans to serve in a variety of military roles. The evidence has shown that none of these things disrupted the unit or operational readiness. We should support all of our troops who are willing to serve their country, not discriminate against them. I'm Megan Robertson, and that's what I say.
Megan, thank you so much. Now we want to know what you say. Let us know what you think about what Megan talked about or anything on your mind on our program, Indianapolis This Week. You can reach us on Twitter, on the RTV6 Facebook page, on the RTV6 app, or at the IndyChannel.com. So a whirlwind of a week in Washington. Our political insiders on deck to delve in to health care and how the governor is handling the issue and the newest candidate for U.S. Senate. That and much more as you're watching Indianapolis This Week, only.
It's an obsession for a limited time at Wendy's.
It is time for our political insiders. Welcome to what I call Democracy Couch with some of my favorite people on a Sunday morning. They're already laughing. Mary Beth Schneider, former political reporter for the Indianapolis Star, our Democrat Laura Beck, Republican Kyle Walker. Welcome to the program. We heard earlier in the program already, there is a match already underway. We have now someone going up against Democrat, the incumbent Joe Donnelly. That will be Luke Messer and possibly then Todd Rokita. What do we make of this?
Yeah, you can take off the possibly.
Okay.
I mean, they're already, you know, boom, hard at it. I think that is going to be an incredible primary. We really haven't seen that kind of down and dirty, real knockdown, drag down fight in the Republican Party in, I can't think of the last time that we've had something like this. This will be, get your popcorn.
Is that good for Joe?
I think anytime the people on the other side have a bruising and bloodying primary, I think it's good. But I do think good for, I shouldn't say good, I should say good for Senator Donnelly. Not good when it's us. But I do also think that Senator Donnelly has a really strong reputation already in the state, and I think he's well liked. And so I think he's already going to be heading into it pretty strong.
Kyle, does this provide a robust discussion? Does this allow two prominent Republicans to put their best ideas out there and say, hey, we have the message?
Yeah, I think the key to this is it shows that Joe Donnelly is vulnerable, and Republicans have a deep bench of very qualified candidates to challenge him, and they will. And there's already been a lot of issues that have come into the light recently with Joe Donnelly outsourcing his company-owned jobs.
But he paid back those stocks, so
it wasn't his company.
Well, but he has stock in the company, or didn't
we
until
can
he
start
was
on your
sort of
guys.
caught. But
start on your guys.
But I do think it clearly shows that Joe Donnelly is vulnerable and that we've got great candidates against him.
Don't you have the problem, though, that if what we've seen so far is a lot of accusations being traded that involve family. If people get to the end of this and they don't like either one, I think the advantage that they do have going against Donnelly can be eroded.
Well, I mean, I think it's important to clarify that I'm on the finance team for Luke Messer, and which is being led by Vice President Pence's brother, Greg Pence. So,
and we heard from him already.
We did hear from him already, and so I mean, I think anytime that you're in a primary and that you get into really personal attacks, especially attacks on family, you're really asking for trouble.
Does it matter? We saw that letter that came out from Rex Early and Tony Samuel saying we're not endorsing anybody. But President Trump, the guy that really was walking with him throughout the campaign happens to be Todd Rokita. There was never a word of Mr. Messer. Does that matter at all, or should we just move on?
Oh, well, I think that's a tool that is used in a fight like this to say, oh, no, he's really.
Does it matter to you? It's your campaign.
I think that those folks are well respected. Luke Messer has the support of some very well respected Republicans also, including folks that are in and around the White House.
On the issue of health care, we saw that the governor floated the possibility of a tax increase to pay for state programs, health programs, if the feds do nothing. Is that likely? I mean, and for a Republican to say a tax increase, you normally don't hear those two words in the same sentence.
Hugely courageous of him to say that. For any governor, whether you're a Republican or Democrat, to say that you're open to that possibility. It shows, I think, one, that the HIP program is popular, and that I think that the governor is probably looking at Washington, seeing the dysfunction there, and recognizing that to protect Hoosiers, you may have to act in Indiana.
Thoughts?
I think Governor Holcomb is in a tough spot. and I think it's because he's in the job he has because of former Governor and Vice President Pence. So I think he's in a tough spot, and you heard Mike Pence last week when he cast the tie-breaking vote to dismantle what would be HIP 2.0 as part of Obamacare. HIP 2.0 is working, and I think that
is it working?
I think it is.
Is it working?
Well, I think that it's certainly a success in Indiana. Obviously, the governor is, a very strong leader on this issue, and I think he's shown a lot of courage to say that he's going to make sure that Hoosiers have coverage. And there's a long debate still to go on about health care in the country. Yeah. And so I think kudos to him to stand up and to say that early.
And it's not over in Washington.
No, it's not over. And even Senator Donnelly has made it pretty clear at the federal level he's willing to fight for HIP 2.0. Sure. And so I think that Governor Holcomb might find an unlikely partner in that effort with Senator Donnelly.
In our last remaining moments, we of course want to express our sympathies to the families of the 2 police officers that we lost last week. So from all of us here, our insiders on the Democracy Couch, we're thinking of those families as they mourn, and the communities that also are thinking of them. So we appreciate their families and the service of those officers. So we thank you from all of us here today. We'll be Welcome back to Indianapolis this week. A big announcement from the U.S. Attorney's Office to help reduce violence. Indianapolis is one of a few cities chosen to participate in the National Public Safety Partnership with the Department of Justice. The program will allow the city to tap into federal resources to help crime-fighting efforts in Indianapolis. The partnership will also allow the city to receive help in many areas like crime analysis, technology, and gun violence, as well as building community engagement and trust with the department.
By building upon nationally acclaimed practices, the operations approach that this partnership will produce, I am confident, both short-term and long-term strategies going forward, with an underscored emphasis devoted to gun violence.
City officials are hopeful the program will help stem the rise in criminal homicides. Indianapolis has seen record homicide numbers each of the last 2 years. Whether it matters in elections remains to be seen, but next year, one population group will have the numbers to have a major influence on who wins and who loses in the elections. Millennials are set to surpass baby boomers next year as the largest generation of Americans eligible to vote. That's according to the States of Change project at the Center for American Progress. The change will mark the crossing of a historic threshold and a shift that could reshape the balance of political power. Baby boomers have been the largest voting eligible age group since 1978. This coming Saturday, dreams will come true in Columbus in Bartholomew County. But those dreams will likely be accompanied by a couple of bruises as a young man takes his place in the ring. RTV6's Beth Vaughn introduces you to Justin Wells ahead of Downtown Throwdown 3.
Justin Wells is getting a crash course in wrestling and what it'll take to be a tag team partner in this summer's Downtown Throwdown.
I don't just want to be a professional wrestler. I want to be a champion.
He shares the same passion that a lot of the wrestlers have, and so in order to be able to work with him and see his progress, it's awesome.
Donnie Idol and Ricky Ruckus, 2 local independent professional wrestlers, are training Justin. But you may ask yourself, who's training who?
But the spirit he gave me, I'm still feeling it a little bit right now. So, yeah, I'm in good hands August 5th, Downtown Throwdown 3.
And that's likely because Justin has spent the last 4 years practicing in this gym at Developmental Services, Inc. in Columbus, where staff who love his writing and art can't help but notice his passion for the sport.
Realize just dreams that you may never have thought possible, but again, he's been inspirational to a lot of folks, not just our clients, but our staff. He's worked so hard at it. He said he's out in that gym every day.
Justin's debut in the ring will also bring money back to the programs at DSI, which help clients with disabilities gain independence and confidence. Emerge Wrestling hopes to donate $3,000, and they're doing so with a simple message.
No matter what you face in life, no matter the circumstances, hard work and dedication gets you exactly where you want to be.
A mindset Justin knows all too well, and one he plans to put on display August 5th in the Downtown Throwdown.
It's a lot of hard work. and I'm willing to do a lot of hard work too.
In Columbus, Beth Vaughn, RTV6.
So for more information on Justin's debut and the Downtown Throwdown 3, head to the IndyChannel.com/hot button. From all of us at RTV6, Justin, good luck. The Call 6 Investigates team could use a bodyguard. Give me a call. For now, you're watching Indianapolis This Week. We'll be right back.
A pussycat on Price.
Good morning, I'm Meredith Barrick. Here's what we're working on right now at RTV6. IMPD detectives investigating a homicide on the city's north side. Officials say a black man was found dead in the parking lot at the Villas at Meridian Hills apartment complex just after 4 this morning. Investigators also say nearby the scene was a car that was set on fire that could be connected. There's no word on a suspect or motive at this time. This morning, 2 law enforcement officers now at a funeral home after ceremonial transfers on Saturday. Funerals for both Southport Lieutenant Aaron Allen and IMPD Deputy Chief Jim Waters will now happen this week. Visitation for Chief Waters will be Tuesday, his funeral being held Wednesday at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. Lieutenant Allen's visitation Friday, with his funeral on Saturday at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. Remember, you can stay up to date on the latest breaking news.
Welcome back to Indianapolis This Week. I'm Lauren Casey. It's time for the 6, so let's take a look at 6 things coming up this week in Indy. History buffs head on over to Conner Prairie this week for an encore weekend of a local play. It's called More Light, Douglas Returns, and it features kids from an Indianapolis youth theater. First Friday is back this week in the Circle City. This Friday, you can grab the family, head on over to the Old National Center for a night of food trucks, brews, and live musics. The tickets are $8, and the fun kicks off at 5 o'clock. It's back. The State Fair reopens this week, and Friday is not only opening day, but it's also RTV6 Day at the Indiana State Fair. You can stop by our booth for games and fun. Plus, the theme this year is the wonderful world of food, so you don't want to miss out on all of the fried goods. So do you like Molly or Samantha? Maybe Kit is more your girl? Well, young ladies everywhere can get excited because the American Girl Doll Store, they're setting up a temporary shop here in Indy at the Keystone Fashion Mall. Opening day is Saturday, and they're giving away free gift cards while supplies last. The Indy Burger Battle is taking over Georgia Street on Saturday. Indulge in Indy's best burgers for a great cause. Tickets start at $30, and the proceeds benefit Building Tomorrow, which is an organization that expands educational opportunities to students in East Africa. And cheer on our boys in blue at the Colts' second public training camp practice. This one will have a Friday night lights feel as the team will take over Warren Central High School Stadium at 4 o'clock on Saturday. That's what's on tap this week in Indy. Back to you.
Lauren, we'll see you tomorrow morning on GMI. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.